Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So, today's mission, we're unpacking a stack of sources related to this really fascinating case. It starts somewhere you'd absolutely least expect for a detective,
Right.
and then it just spirals into something way bigger and honestly pretty disturbing.
And all against this backdrop of, well, intense domesticity. It's quite the
It
mix.
really is. We've got excerpts from a detailed report, crime scene stuff, interview transcripts, financial data, even some personal notes. It traces this detective's path through a really complex mystery.
Yeah, a real rabbit hole.
Exactly. So our goal is to pull out the most compelling bits, the surprising links, those critical moments of discovery, straight from the material.
Think of it like getting the insider view without wading through the whole pile yourself.
Perfect. Let's jump in and see what we learned from this deep dive.
What's fascinating right off the bat is where this whole thing kicks off. It's completely the opposite of the detective's usual scene.
Absolutely. The sources plunge us straight into a visit to a birthing center with a friend.
Right. And the description is so vivid, this cathedral to conception, all these beaming pregnant women.
Live birth videos playing on screens, even labor droids. It paints this picture that's almost overwhelming, maybe a little terrifying if you're not prepared.
Oh, definitely. And the detective's reaction, it's strong and honestly pretty relatable. Notes that bloody and brutal murder was nothing compared to giving birth.
Yeah, it describes the women as enormous and weirdly deformed, but also cheerful, so freaking placid. You can feel the discomfort.
And trying to cope by like analyzing the place, right? Thinking some setup here, calling it a kind of cathedral, just trying to process it all.
The dark humor really comes through too. Watching that birth video, you get the, oh man, oh God.
Even Rourke's hand gets clammy.
And the immediate plan is screwing brains out to recover. And this newfound admiration for women is suddenly of biblical proportions.
It's such a visceral reaction, isn't it? Almost panicked.
It really sets up that contrast. The sources are using messy life versus the detective's world of death and violence.
And it introduces key people, too. Mavis, the very pregnant friend.
Described as beaming like a mentally defective.
Huh? And Leonardo, her partner, looking a bit green. And Tandy.
Right, Tandy. From London, new to New York, works at that baby boutique, White Stork, also pregnant, due soon.
The source mentions her dreaming about being grounded for a while, stroking her belly. Little human touches before everything shifts.
So you've got this very personal scene. How does it suddenly connect to, the job?
Well, the sources snap us back fast. The detective's actually dreaming about fang-toothed, many-armed babies bouncing out of Mavis.
Oh, God.
When the bedside link signal goes off, dispatch. Possible homicide, 51 Jane Street. Back to reality. So the initial scene, what do they find?
Okay, apartment 3B. Victim's Natalie Copperfield. Found in her kitchen. Right away, things seem off. New locks on the door, a knife by the bed.
Suggests she was worried, right?
Definitely. Then men's toiletries in the bathroom. She had a guy. Condoms, edible body oil on the nightstand. Maybe a bad breakup.
And the apartment shows signs of a fight. Broken glass, perfume bottles smashed,
Yeah.
bowls she collected. A definite struggle.
And her sister's there, Palma.
Yeah, Palma. Understandably distraught. She describes finding Natalie, the blood, the room being like there'd been a fight.
And she couldn't get in easily?
No, the security chain was on. Palma says Natalie would never do that if she was expecting her.
So Palma gives the basic info. Natalie's name, engaged to Bick.
Right, Bick, a VP in personal finance at her firm. Palma mentions they were pretty old-fashioned, waiting to live together, planning the wedding. She hadn't seen Natalie for 3 weeks, travel involved, but she knew something was wrong. Regrets not paying enough attention.
Oof, that's tough. The sources also mention the detective's partner, Baxter, being involved here too.
Yeah, just noting that connection, how personal and professional lives sometimes weave together for the detective.
Okay, so at this point, one victim, maybe relationship related, maybe someone she feared, but then it escalates quickly.
Very quickly, the sources reveal a second crime scene right across the hall.
Across the hall?
Yeah, from a neighbor, Gracie York. She has a baby, mentions her husband Bick left early that morning.
Wait, Bick, as in?
As in Bick Byson, Natalie's fiance, the second victim.
Wow. Okay, that changes everything.
Completely. And this scene is different. Forced entry, maybe a window or emergency escape.
Uh-huh.
They find building materials
Mm-hmm.
and blue plastic cord.
Let me guess.
Bick was strangled with matching cord. There was a struggle, stunner marks, beaten, bound. Raises questions like, why gag him if he's stunned?
Good point.
and adhesive traces around his mouth, like Natalie.
Okay, so similarities, but also differences. What about his place? Byson's loft.
They search it. 3 bedrooms. One's empty, but it has more of those building supplies. Another's set up as an office, but the computer's gone. Just a clear spot on the table where it used to be.
Missing computer. Red flag.
Big time.
Mm.
And then Morris, the ME, delivers the critical piece about Natalie.
What's that?
She was tortured. Broken fingers, backward thrust. Broken nose, making it hard to breathe.
Yeah.
It wasn't quick.
Jesus. So unlike Bick.
Right. With Bick, they skipped the interrogation portion.
Okay, wait. So the conclusion is?
Natalie told the killer what they needed to know. Then they went across the hall and killed Bick.
So it wasn't personal. Not really. It was about information.
Exactly. Calculated. Transactional. Which points towards...
Her work. The accounting firm.
Bingo. Large firm. Natalie was a senior account exec, fast track, excellent, personable, smart, hardworking, up for VP. Worked for Kara Green.
And what does Kara Green say?
She confirms Natalie was excellent. Admits she felt something was wrong, but didn't think it was work issues.
But she won't give up files.
Not without a warrant. Client privacy, standard procedure for a firm like that. But she offers to cooperate fully once they have it. Mentions a Mr. Krause and says they need to talk to Bick, obviously not knowing he's dead yet.
Does Green know if Natalie and Bick work together?
She clarifies they didn't. Natalie handled corporate, mostly foreign stuff. Bick did individuals, domestic. Different worlds. She does say Bick seemed a little jumpy lately, but thought it was wedding stress, buying a place.
And Peabody, the detective's partner, her reaction kind of sums it up.
Yeah, the source quotes her, "Someone deliberately murdered those 2 kids." It highlights that shift. This isn't random, it's targeted.
So this complex, brutal double murder investigation is unfolding.
Yeah.
How does that crash into the detective's personal life? Because we started there.
Oh, that the sources make that collision really clear and almost funny in a dark way. Right in the middle of this, there's baby shower planning chaos.
Ah, yes. The theme.
Exactly. The detective is totally lost. Jesus Christ, I need a theme. It's such a stark contrast to her comfort zone with murder investigations.
Yeah.
And the mention of a throne for Mavis.
Just adds to the absurdity from her perspective.
And that visit to the baby boutique, White Stork. Same thing. Detective sees gargantuan stuffed animals, mind-numbing music, thumb-sized shoes. Unnatural.
While Peabody's like so completely uptown, cooing over everything.
Yeah, like a mourning dove. The price of that deluxe rocker system gets a gulp out of Peabody, and the detective thinks paying full price is tempting fate. It's just worlds colliding.
But the professional world has its own friction, doesn't it? Something about Rourke.
Right. A superior, Whitney, brings up a concern. That confiscated data from Natalie's firm. Could it end up with Rourke? Could he use it against competitors?
Ooh, that's stepping on a line.
Big time. And the reaction is explosive. From both of them. The detective fiercely defends Rourke's integrity. He doesn't need my help to compete, wouldn't walk over 2 dead bodies, calls it an insult to me and to him.
And Rourke's reaction?
Just as strong. God damn it, Eve, do you think I'd use you for fucking money? He talks about the risk to both their reputations, refuses to tolerate having my wife be the one who has to bring the insult to me.
Wow, so this actually strengthens things.
Absolutely. The sources show the detective's loyalty is total. If you don't know you come first, you're just stupid. And Rourke's move. Drafting a contract saying he won't use any data from the case.
That's quite a statement.
It's huge. Shows his integrity, his respect for her work. It cements their trust despite the pressure.
Okay, so the warrant comes through. What happens at the firm?
They go in and start confiscating everything. Anything and all data, disk, and hard copy. Everything inside this room. The detective has a bit of a confrontation with security and management, feeling they bogged me up.
Standard procedure hurdles, probably. Who do they talk to?
Employees. Jacob Sloan, the grandson of someone high up, knew Natalie and Bick. Calls them pals, says they lunched, gossiped. He's clearly shaken, can't imagine who'd hurt them.
And his father, Randall Sloan.
Also a VP, expresses shock. The detective clocks his position in the hierarchy.
Any other notable colleagues?
Lila Grove. A coworker calls her a piranha. Apparently worked with Bick, flirted with him. Peabody sizes her up as hard, sharp-edged, vain, ambitious. Notes she teared up but never smeared her enhancements.
Okay. What about the firm itself, its history, clients?
The company Bullock started in pharma. There's a big Bullock Foundation, chaired by the widow, Madeline Bullock. Huge charity. focuses on children's health care.
Okay.
The son, Winfield Chase, is VP of the foundation. He's 38, single, lives with his mother in London.
Mother and son share an address.
Other clients.
Carl and Elise Hellbringer from Germany, shoe fashion empire people. They were being entertained the night of the murders. And Rochelle DeLay, Jacob Sloan's girlfriend.
What's her role?
She provides Jacob's alibi, dinner at grandparents', bridge, back to his place. So she found him crying about the murders the next morning.
So lots of people, lots of potential connections. But the key seems financial.
Definitely. The detective realizes they need help, a numbers guy, a businessman, to make sense of the accounts.
The strategy. Look for patterns. Repetition. Files copied to Natalie's home unit, or maybe to Bick's. Mentions of higher-ups. They know Natalie logged in after hours recently.
And Rourke steps in.
Does. Confirms hacking files is possible, but against the rules. Offers that great insight about money being like manure. You can't get anything to grow if you don't spread it around.
Meaning?
Meaning consistent high profits for clients could just be good luck or good management.
Okay.
Or good information. Insider trading. Fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Something illicit driving those returns. That's what they need to look for.
Okay, so the financial investigation is digging deep, but then the personal side resurfaces with Tandy.
Yeah, just as things are getting intense at the firm, we snap back to the baby shower prep. Peabody needs cash for flowers. The detective's exasperated. The usual chaos.
And the shower itself.
Vividly described again.
Yep.
All rainbows and flowers. Mag stuff. That's
Yeah.
future slang for magazines or media, maybe. Mavis on her throne. All these pregnant women, the dynamics that form, the bond. Mira's there, talking about birth being the power and the love.
But Mavis is worried.
Right. Candy's a no-show. Not answering her link. It feels wrong.
So the detective gets involved personally.
Because of Mavis, yeah. They go to Tandy's apartment. Neighbor hasn't seen her since Thursday morning. Detective uses her badge to get in. Mavis insists on coming.
What's the apartment like?
Spare, basic, but coordinated. Mostly pregnancy clothes, no coat. Crucially, no sign of trouble or struggle. Looks like she just vanished.
Another neighbor confirms misplans.
Yeah, Zila Patron. She was supposed to see Candy Friday night, was initially annoyed. Now she's worried too. Says they'd become friends.
So it goes to missing persons.
MPU, yeah. They run the timeline. Last seen Thursday, missed link calls, missed shower, wrapped gift suggests she didn't plan to disappear. LT Smith says, looks like you've got one.
And the detective takes the case herself.
Has to handle it, yeah. Because of Mavis.
And Rourke. This hits him hard.
Yeah, the sources say it resonates a little too deep. He admits it brings up anger, grief. The detective realizes it connects to his own past, trauma, his mother being abducted while pregnant.
Wow. That adds a whole other layer.
Makes it incredibly personal for both of them.
Do they find out anything about Tandy's background? The father?
He talked to her midwife. Hasn't heard from Tandy since Wednesday. No one in the birthing circle has either. The midwife gives the background. Single mom. No family support nearby. Talks some about the father, Aaron Appleby, a writer in London.
London again. Okay. Does this lead anywhere?
It leads to a search on IRCCA, their crime database, for similar cases, like crimes, and they find a pattern, a chilling one. Abductions, sometimes abduction murders, babies stolen post-delivery, often pregnant women near-term vanishing. Sometimes they knew the kidnapper.
Any specific cases?
Sofia Ballego in Italy is mentioned. Missing at 36 weeks, gone 2 years. Artist, fairy mural in the nursery. The parallels are disturbing. Pregnant women, near-term, gone without a trace.
So now, two major cases, a double homicide tied to finance, and a missing pregnant woman potentially linked to a pattern of abductions.
The huge question hanging in the air is, how could these possibly be connected? What could link high finance and missing mothers to be?
The sources show the detective makes that leap, that gut connection between the firm's clients and these missing women.
And the theory is just grim.
Yeah. Snatch, grab, deliver, sell, destroy evidence. And the horrifying logic. When the product's delivered, the woman's no longer needed and is disposed of.
Just awful. Yeah. Does Rourke's financial analysis support this?
It provides the proof. He digs into Natalie's files, finds 2 accounts were questionable, has gaps, little voids. He flags file 896.
And the client is?
A law firm. Stubbins, Robbins, Cavendish, and Mull.
A law firm involved.
Okay.
What's suspicious about their account?
Recurring fees. Always 45% of the take, funneled through nonprofit donations to get tax exemption. Money gets split, juggled into sub-accounts, expenses deducted, then dispersed via a charitable trust. Client gets a big write-off.
Rourke's take.
He says tax fraud, but adds that's only one piece of the pie. So the hypothesis about Natalie firms up. She saw this fraud in the law firm's accounts.
Right. We're being curious and precise. Maybe she connected it to another client, the Bullock Foundation.
And dug deeper herself. Found the fraud and maybe started to see the darker thing it was hiding.
Which leads to confronting Krause at the firm.
Exactly. Detective lays out the tax fraud evidence. Krause denies it, claims an alibi dinner with the Hellbringers, but his reaction gets pale, then gray.
Yes,
Seems like it. The detective pushes, asks if he let Bullock or Chase handle the dirty work. Krause hangs up. It's practically an admission.
So attention shifts.
To Randall Sloan, the VP whose son knew the victims. Detective remembers his alibi, his reaction, orders a deep dive into his finances, travel, looking specifically for gambling problems.
Which he had. And what do they find?
Another twist. They go to Sloan's apartment
Oof.
and find him dead. Apparent suicide. Yeah, hanging from a chandelier. No struggle noted initially. A note on his computer confesses to hiring the hits on Natalie and Bick.
But the detective doesn't buy it.
Not for a second. Too many red flags. Security off, door unlatched. Why confess to hits that weren't professional? Why do it right before his son arrives? Smells like a setup. A patsy.
So they search the place thoroughly.
Uh-huh. Find no cleaning robot and Friday's data disks swapped for blanks. Someone cleaned up incriminating evidence Sloan might have had. But the detective suspects he hid a copy somewhere else.
Yeah, tells Peabody and McNabb to look for an off-site copy, bank box, something.
And McNabb, screw that. Shebody finds it.
Finds a second safe. Hidden in the kitchen pantry after the first obvious one was empty. Genius. And inside, financial records.
The missing piece? What do they show?
They tie clients directly to the Bullock Foundation and another charity called Sunday's Child.
Sunday's Child.
A registered charity. Specific accounts show those consistent high profits Rourke flagged, all linked to the foundation. The Russo's account is an example. 45% recurring fees funneled via Sunday's Child donations. Tax exempt.
Okay, but what are the expenses attached to that income?
Payments to individuals like Sybil Hobson and, crucially, Dr. Letitia Brownburn,
Who?
an OBGYN based in London, and she's on the board of Sunday's Child.
Oh my God. It all clicks into place.
The undeniable, horrific conclusion, they're selling babies.
The tax fraud was just the elaborate smokescreen?
Right. The real business.
Yep.
Kidnap pregnant women near term, hold them, deliver the babies, sell them through the charity to wealthy clients, and then get rid of the mothers. Keeps expenses down, as the source chillingly notes.
Unbelievable. So the focus narrows.
Squarely on Winfield Chase. London connection, shares the address with Mother Madeline, VP of the Foundation, maybe even blackmail involved in his wealth.
And the targets become clear. Madeline Bullock and Winfield Chase.
The detective sees them as more than mother and son, notes the intimacy, calls Madeline the spider, pulling the strings using her son. It's a familiar, twisted dynamic for readers of this series.
How do they find them?
Randall Sloan's financials. The hidden records show Madeline has a pied-à-terre luxury apartment on East End Avenue.
So they go there?
Yep. Approach the building, a little palace of glass and stone. Note the security.
And the confrontation.
They meet Madeline and Winfield. Madeline's calm, offers tea, all surface normalcy. Their alibis are weak dinner, gala plans, cards, early night.
Do they react to Sloan's name?
Winfield cracks. A nervous, bloody, goddamn shagging hell. That's the tell.
And the detective makes the call.
Connects all the dots to the finance scheme, the abductions, Sloan's staged suicide, Dr. Brownburn, Sunday's Child. It all fits. She decides to go in.
The team assembles?
Baxter, Peabody, Trueheart, McNabb, Rourke. Plan. Secure Madeline and Winfield. Find Tandy. Fast.
Does it go smoothly?
Not entirely. Winfield attacks, gets arrested for assaulting an officer. Then Madeline attacks, Baxter takes her down.
But Tandy.
They find a small locked room, the activated computer, portable birthing gear monitor, warming tray, scale. Rourke bypasses the lock.
What's the room like?
The description is eerie. Cheerfully warm yellow, paintings of meadows, cozy chairs, simulated snow falling outside screened windows, a gilded cage.
And Tandy.
She's there, holding her baby, just described as mag and ult, maybe meaning magnificent and ultimate. The relief is palpable in the source material. She's alive, she's safe.
Does she explain what happened to her? Why she left London?
Yeah, she confirms she found out the father, Aaron Appleby, was married, didn't want the baby in that mess, didn't want to bother him, considered adoption, changed her mind.
So she ran.
Quit her job, sold stuff, went to Paris, then New York, lied to friends, put an ocean between her past and her baby's future, was lonely, but found the job at White Stork, the midwife, Mavis. Things seemed okay until she was snatched.
Just devastating. So, suspects caught, victim rescued. What about the legal case?
The prosecutor, Rio, confirms Chase is cold on the kidnapping. Global conspiracy evidence is there. But the homicides, Natalie, Bick, Sloan, are the sticker. Harder to pin directly on Chase and Madeline, maybe.
How do they try to connect it?
They pressure Cavendish, the lawyer from the firm whose accounts were flagged. He's pale, sweaty, lawyers flanking him.
Detective turns the screws.
Suggests Chase killed Sloan and wouldn't hesitate to silence Cavendish too. It works. Cavendish caves, asks for a deal in writing, agrees to spill everything.
Detective's reaction.
Didn't even get me warmed up. Calls him a spineless bastard. Figures he'll get a solid dime on the obstruction charge.
Does physical evidence back this up?
Yes. Sweepers find Chase's hair in Sloan's vehicle. EDD electronic data shows transmissions linking Chase, Madeline, Dr. Brownburn in London, and Cavendish's office.
Dr. Brownburn.
Arrested in London. Confesses immediately. Took orders from Madeline. Sunday's child is shut down. Transmissions mentioned an imminent delivery. They were actively managing the operation.
So they have enough to interrogate Chase and Madeline properly.
Oh, yeah. They go in on Chase hard and mean. He's arrogant, lawyered up. Detective provokes him about his mother. Can't get the wood on for anyone but her, can you?
Whoa, risky.
Pays off. Chase attacks. Then justifies it all, calls it a service, helping women, giving gifts to worthy couples for a nice fat fee. Admits they killed Natalie, Bick, and Sloan for sticking their noses into our business.
Confession. And Madeline.
Tries to play the victim. He used me. Detective shuts that down hard, calls her the spider, the power, a bloodsucker, confronts her with medical playback evidence and Brownburn's confession. Shows she was the mastermind.
So the case is wrapped.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Suspects are processed. Ambulances, OB teams called for Candy and the baby. Warrants out for the other lawyers involved, Cavendish and Brubry, who likely sang after Cavendish folded.
And the detective finally gets home exhausted.
Absolutely. Looking forward to a jet tub, wine, sex, sleep.
Well, say six.
But opens the door to find Mavis and another woman, Louise, in labor in her parlor.
It cannot be serious.
Just bloody hell perfect. The detective feels like she's just been shoved her toward the insanity from every possible angle. Birth and death all colliding.
But there's a moment of reflection, too.
Yeah, despite the chaos, sense of accomplishment. Think of what's been saved. Think of the look on Tandy's face when she held her son. There's no place for the dark here.
And Mavis asking about Tandy.
Right, even in labor, asking if Tandy and the baby are okay. It brings it back to that human connection that started it all.
Wow. Just wow. What a journey this deep dive took us on. I mean, from a birthing class field trip.
Which was already traumatic for the detective.
Right. To a global baby selling ring. All pieced together through finance records and sheer police determination.
It really shows how things that seem totally separate a double murder, a missing person, can be tangled up in something truly monstrous underneath.
And how personal connections, like the friendship with Mavis, or even Rourke's past, can become driving forces in an investigation.
Absolutely. And it hammers home that financial crime isn't just numbers on a page. It can have these devastating, horrific human costs.
You also see the grit involved.
Right.
The focus needed to untangle something this complex while simultaneously dealing with, well, baby shower themes and defending your partner's name.
The sheer whiplash of it all.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How often are these truly shocking crimes hidden right there in plain sight, masked by perfectly respectable things like accounting firms or charities or, society events?
How do you even begin to spot those gaps, those voids, as Rourke called them? How do you peel back the layers to see the horror hiding beneath that polished surface? It's a sobering thought.
It really is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See you next time.